All right, welcome back to Niners Nightly. Larry Krueger with you on a Tuesday as we get you ready for the Niners and the Eagles from the lake Sunday in Philly. I'll be there, boots on the ground, and we
Nice.
go out to Philly right now for one of our favorites, Jody Mack. You've heard him nationally, you've heard him locally. If you're back east, WIP, WFAN, CBS Sports Radio for years and years. And Jody Mack is always appreciated on the Sports Leader, and he's with us on the Uma guest line to break it all down. Jody, how are you?
Good enough, LK. How was your New Year? How was your holiday?
Man, it was good. It was good. It was restful. You know, I battled this little head cold congestion thing for a few weeks on and off, which is just crushing me. But I'm back. I'm feeling good. And I'm on the bird with my kid on Friday to come out to Philly.
Cool.
What kind of weather are we going to get? I'm hearing it's going to be warm, but maybe some rain.
Yeah, it's surprisingly warm because it's been pretty damn cold here the last couple of weeks. But midweek, it's supposed to pick up and be fairly warm on Sunday. But you're right, rain is a possibility. You don't know. We're still too many days out to know for sure. I don't know about you, but I don't trust weathermen until 24 hours away. They're poking and hoping, same as you and I do, making sports picks here on the show. So we'll have to wait and see. But it is not going to be cold. The only question is, are they going to play on a wet field or not?
Now, do people back east consider you more synonymous with New York or with Philly? I mean, I think of you as Philly, but you know what? You do a lot of stuff on the Fan. You've worked with my buddy Sid Rosenberg, and anybody who's worked with Sid, I think of as straight New York. Though Sid spent a lot of time in Miami. You've worked with some great ones, including the great Sid Rosenberg. But where would you consider home, Jody? I know you're born in New York, aren't you?
Right. Originally a New Yorker, and sure enough, I did a show on the Fan on New Year's Day, and I hadn't done one in a while, so it's good to catch up with my New York peeps. But I've been more centric to Philadelphia for more years. Certainly, I've done more years, more shows in Philly, but started in New York and still in part call New York my home. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing Eagle hat today because they're my NFC team. But the Jets are my number one team. That's the one New York team I've never given up and will never give up. Will take to my grave and probably never see another Super Bowl in my lifetime. I'm old enough to remember 1969. I was a wee lad at the time and waiting for another appearance in the Super Bowl that may never come. But I've been more of a Philly guy the last 15, 20 years.
Do you have a Namath throwback somewhere in your house?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Name it throwback, name it pictures, you name it. I've got it. I am a Jet fan, like I said, for life till death do us part. And I fear death will do us part at some time before the Jets ever get back to the big game.
How do Jets fans really feel about Robert Saleh?
Yeah, he's a good defensive coordinator. If one thing I've learned over almost 40 years of doing this sports talk thing, the fact that you are an outstanding coordinator does not necessarily make you an outstanding head coach. And we've seen so many of those examples. Norv Turner is the one that comes to mind first always for me. But on top of that, add Robert Saleh, phenomenal defensive coordinator, doing a great job this year. Two of the best, maybe the two best defensive coordinators in the league matching up against each other this week. But Robert Saleh was not a good head coach, so we're not crying in our spilled milk in New York for the fact that Robert Saleh got out of town.
All right, let's talk about this game. Niners and Eagles go Sunday in Philly. What do you expect?
I expect a great game. Both teams are really good and have playoff experience. I was doing some stuff looking it up earlier today. The two quarterbacks in this game, and I'm a Purdy guy. You've had me on before, so you know I like Purdy. I like Purdy from him stepping in immediately, showing how good he was, and I fought back, railed against those who said, "Oh, he's Mr. Irrelevant. How can you have faith?" Just watch him play, and you can see how good he is, and he continued it again this year. All the quarterbacks in the playoffs this year, I'm also defending Sam Darnold a little bit this year because, you can't trust Sam Darnold. You don't know Sam Darnold. All right, Sam Darnold got beat last year. Won 14 games during the regular season, but got beat in the playoffs. Oh, he can't possibly win. How do you know that? There are a handful of quarterbacks at best, like Aaron Rodgers is 11-10 in the postseason. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's 11-10 in the postseason. Josh Allen probably going to the Hall of Fame himself. He's 8-7. It's hard to have a winning record as a quarterback in the postseason. No Mahomes, who wins every single year, unless he doesn't make it. No Burrow. Purdy and Jalen Hurts have the two best winning percentages of the two quarterbacks in the postseason this year. And sure enough, they got a face off in game number one. I think it's a hell of a game. I think it's a toss up. Basically, the odds maker tell you it's a toss up because you get 3 points for being at home, and Eagles are 3.5-point favorites, which means on a neutral field, it'd be a half-point game. It'd be a toss up game. That's how evenly matched I think these two teams are.
I'm not sure, how bad this Niner defense really is. I mean, last week they really got crushed and by an okay Seattle offense, and I would imagine
crushed. How many points they give up?
Well, they gave up 13, but I mean, as far as they, in the first half of that game, they were running for 8 yards a pop on first down. It was 1st and 10, 2nd and 2, 1st and 10, 2nd and 3. I mean, it was that kind of a game. So it just felt like they got crushed. You're right. On the scoreboard, it was a very, very close game, and 13 points is nothing to sneeze at as far as allowing that. But they got worked over by Seattle's offensive line, by Seattle's runners. Seattle kind of did whatever they wanted. What do you expect in this game? Well, first of all, is Sirianni getting any criticism at all? He could have played his starters in Week 18 against the Commanders. If they had won that game, they could have gotten Green Bay in the first round. Instead, he chose the rest and to lock into that 3 seed, which ultimately brings the Niners to town. Has there been any discussion about that this week?
Nothing but since the end of the game on Sunday, the last 24 or 48 hours, it's all about, did Sirianni screw this up? Those that believed he was doing the right thing to begin with are standing by their man and saying, yeah, but we're well rested. We're going to be healthy. That's what they needed to do. That's what they had to do. No, they didn't. There was something to be had. The 2 seed, I thought, was very important. Number one, not only does it give you the taken on oil Green Bay Packers in the first round, but then you are the home team in the second round as well. Instead, you get the Niners, who you didn't play this year, so you don't know how you do match up with them. There's no specific tape you can go to. Here's what they did. Here's what we do. Here's what we need to do better. Here's what we got to try and take advantage of. No, it's speculation. Now, both teams have good coaches, so it's smart speculation, but speculation at best. They'd already beaten the Packers. The Packers are going backwards. How could you not play to try and get the Packers in the first round? I second-guessed them. I didn't second-guess them. I first-guessed them all week leading up to the game, and I did again last night on WIP. He needs to now win 2 games, not 1, 2. Got to beat the 49ers. Then you got to go beat the Bears in Chicago, who they've already lost to this year. Otherwise, you're going to continue to have this thrown in your face for years to come. I'm a Sirianni guy. He's had a really good 5 years, 5 playoffs. That's pretty damn good. 100% of anything is damn good. But, and I threw these numbers out last night, Nick Sirianni, since he took over the Eagles, home playoff games, 5-0.
Wow.
Road playoff games, 0-2.
Mm.
So if he beats the 49ers this week, which I told you I think is a toss-up game, but say they do win, now you got to go to Chicago the next week, having won 6 of 6, all of your playoff games at home, and never having won a road game. I'm sorry. The Eagles, I think, miscalculated by not going for what they could have gotten with a win this past Sunday.
Is it his call, Sirianni's call, or do they hide behind organizational decision, or does Roseman let Sirianni make all those calls? Like if the Niners are up 21-0 at halftime, are the people in the stands going to be sitting there going, Sirianni blew it, or are they going to be like the Eagles blew it and they stand together?
That's the $64,000 question here in Philadelphia right now, because Sirianni is on record saying it's his call. He made the call. He did what was best. He thought best for the Eagle organization and made his call that way. Speculation is that he took advice from above, that it was as much Howie Roseman and or Jeff Lurie's call. Now, even at that, I think it's a little separate because everybody usually groups Howie and Jeff together. If I'm Jeff Lurie and you're throwing out the possibility of not playing a second playoff game at home, which lines the coffers pretty damn good if you're the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know if Jeffrey was the one who said, we got to sit our star players, but I wouldn't be surprised if Howie deeply influenced Sirianni on the decision.
All right. Nationally, last we saw the Eagles, they were crushing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and doing so in impressive fashion. Let's take the macro view on this season. How is this the 25/26 Eagles different from the Super Bowl champion team from a year ago? We know Sweat went to Arizona. We know Milton Williams went to New England. But outside of those couple moves, how is this team quite a bit different?
The defense is as good as last year's defense, which was phenomenal. Guys have stepped up. Fangio is that good a coordinator. They've gotten guys back from injury in season, and they've come back and hit the ground running. So the Eagles have, along with Seattle, who you just saw last week, I think 2 weeks running, you're playing the best defense in the National Football League. I think they're the two best. The disappointment for the Eagles has been offense. Major drop off from what Barkley did last year. I don't think it's so much Barkley as it is the offensive line isn't as good as it was. They let Mekhi Becton walk away, and Steen, who's replaced him, isn't as good. Mailata's not having as good a year. Lane Johnson, who should be back for the 49er game, but missed basically the second half of the season with injury. When he's not in there, they're not the same team. It's been about their offensive line. Kevin Patullo, their offensive coordinator, is very much under the Klieg lamps in Philadelphia this year. People are questioning his play calling and ability to run the team. Jalen hasn't had as good a year as he did last year. If you told me during the offseason, so right before camp opened, listen, the Eagles are going to be lesser on one side of the ball, which do you think it's going to be? Oh, I would have said defense in a heartbeat. You lose as many players, the Josh Sweats of the world and the Milton Williams of the world. There's got to be a drop off there, moving away from CJ, and Big Play Slay. The drop off should have come on defense. It has come on offense, and they're just not as good an offensive team as they were last year.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers. The Eagles' offense has scored 20-plus points only 3 times out of their last 9 games since the bye week. 2 of those came against the Raiders and Cowboys. I guess the big question is, can the Niners score in the 20s? I mean, they scored 3 last week. Can they score in the 20s against this Fangio defense? Since week 8, Eagles are giving up 14.5 points per game. That's number 1 in the NFL.
Yep.
I'm looking at their game from last week. Their 2 leading tacklers were the young linebackers, Jeremiah Trotter and Jihad Campbell. How have those guys fared? I mean, those guys combined for 22 tackles against Washington last night.
Jeremiah Trotter has not played. We have no idea how good a player he was other than preseason. And damn if he didn't step in and play pretty well. It is right now, and this is an ongoing thing here in Philadelphia. People have been complaining about the Eagles overlooking the linebacker position for decades, certainly pre-Howie Roseman, but during the Howie Roseman era. But they got Zach Bond, picked him up, made him into a linebacker, made him into a defensive player of the year candidate last year, paid to keep him this offseason. Campbell, as you said, used a first-round pick on him this year because they didn't know what Nico Dean was going to come back from injury like. Nico comes back, is playing outstanding, looks like he never missed a beat, and he gets hurt again at the end of the season, so they got to put Campbell back in. And they've got Trotter, who can't even get on the field. So they've got 3.5 outstanding linebackers. That is absolutely a strength of the team, and that's Fangio. His system absolutely makes the most out of his linebackers. If they got the talent, they can succeed in his schemes and the way he sets things up, and they really have done so from the linebacker position this year, all year long.
Doesn't it seem like this Jalen Hunt is becoming more and more of a factor as the year goes on? I mean, this guy led them in sacks and picks. I mean, he's an incredibly athletic guy. Got him out of a tiny little school, and what a find he's been, huh? This guy just gets better and better and better.
Great stat that Ruben Frank, buddy of mine from WIP and NBC Sports Philly, is the Eagles TV outlet here in town. Jalen Hunt, the first ever player in the history of the Eagles to lead Philadelphia in both sacks and interceptions. Wow. His 3 interceptions were the most on the team this year. They got like 5 guys who had 2. Jalen Hunt with 3, and with a couple sacks on the last game against the Commanders. Gave 8.5 sacks, so he's the top Eagles sack guy too. Had never been done in the franchise's history before. Same player from the defensive line / outside linebacker position, leading the team in sacks and INTs. Yeah, he's had a bust out year in his second year. What people were scared about coming into the year, because Nolan Smith played well at the end of last year in the postseason, hadn't done much all year long, and then stepped up in the postseason. Jalen Hunt was a project that turned into a pretty damn good and defining player this year. Knew the two big Georgia guys, Davis and Carter, would be good in the middle of the line, but they've got much better play out of their edge than I thought they were going to get this year, and that's why their defense is one of the top 2 defenses in the league.
Yeah, I can't, all those years with Seth Joyner never led them in sacks and interceptions, I guess.
Nope.
They always had Reggie or somebody else, Jerome Brown. This offensive line, let's talk about the Eagles' offensive line, because, their offensive line might have been one of the best we've seen in recent vintage the last few years. And their offensive line this year, I'm looking at the numbers, 16th in pass block win rate, 14th in run block win rate. Heck, the Niners O-line, which is not considered to be very good, finished 12th in both pass block and run block win rate. I know Lane Johnson's, been dinged up. What's his status for this game? Is they were saying he was going to practice tomorrow for the first time. He's got the Liz Frank since mid-November. You think he's coming back?
I think he's going to play. Is he going to play all 60 minutes? We'll find out. He could go down on the first play, could start, and then boom, be done, and that's it for the season. But he's going to play because he wants to play, and he is meant as much as he has this organization. If he says he's a go, he's a go. They're going to give him a shot. They weren't going to play him. He was one of the few that was a given, and nobody complained about him not playing this past week. If he wasn't 100%, you don't put him out there on the field. So the Eagles did handle that correctly, at least to my opinion. We'll find out what Lane Johnson shows up on the field. If he's right, if he's 100% physically, he's still as good a right tackle as there is in the league. But we won't know that till they take the field on Sunday, and the pass rush that the 49ers bring from the edge is not the best in the National Football League. Supposed to be an out. That's a major hit that they take. Lane Johnson doesn't have to be a all-pro right tackle to be effective on Sunday, but he's got to be able to stay on the field.
How healthy is Dallas Goedert? He's got 11 touchdowns. Wow, that's a ton of touchdowns for Goedert. And the Niners have struggled defending the tight end, but he's not 100% either, is he?
It's one of the better matchups, and it's really not a matchup, but we call it a matchup. The two tight ends in this game, Goedert and Kittle, are both phenomenal and key elements to both teams' offenses. They protected Goedert this week. If they needed the game, if they had to, like several other games this weekend, do or die, in or you're out, Goedert definitely would have played. And I can't tip my hat enough to Dallas Goedert for the season he had, because this past offseason, Eagles squeezed him. They were threatening to potentially release him rather than keep the contract in place. They thought he would made too much money for as many injury seasons as he had. And Goddard agreed to skim back his salary this year and redo his deal to give the Eagles some wiggle room under the cap, which I thought was uncalled for. There are years where you got to do that. Hey, we gave him his contract, but he's not as good. People cut guys in the NFL all the time, and we're going to cut you, and or you can renegotiate. It's merited. It's earned on certain players. I thought it was unnecessary for Goddard and unfair to Goddard. He is such a loyal guy that he did what he had to do to stay with the Eagles and took less in his renegotiated contract. And he goes out and puts up the best tight end season touchdown-wise in the Eagles' history. No tight ends ever had 11 touchdown reception before. So they're going to do the dance again this offseason. But I'll tell you that Dallas Goedert will be doing it from a much stronger position.
Eagles have tremendous weapons. Barkley, Goddard, Hurts can run it. They've got, Jahan Dotson, Devontae Smith. But let's talk about A.J. Brown, because there's a lot of smoke around A.J. Brown, and I don't get it. I guess you have to be local to know this one. What's the deal? I mean, I know he brought a book to the sidelines, a year ago, and people were making a deal of that. And, what are the complaints with A.J. Brown? From the outside looking in, Jody, he looks like a big, strong receiver who does nothing but produce. But there are some weird vibes, especially early in the year, about some of his on-field, some of the things he's done on the field that make you kind of question what kind of relationship he may have with the team, with Hurts. What's your assessment of A.J. Brown?
I don't have to explain it to you and or your audience all that much, because you had the Deebo Samuel experience. and the A.J. Brown experience is very similar in Philadelphia. World of talent, highlight player, can be a pain in the rear end, is kind of off on his own drumbeat. And oh, by the way, he's a diva. The National Football League is filled with diva wide receivers. He's one of a clan of diva wide receivers. And the Eagles knew when they got him, he was a bit of a diva. He's continued to be a diva. He makes plays for you. He helps you win football games. You just have to learn to deal with it. And to Sirianni's credit, I think he's done a pretty good job. It could have been a heck of a lot worse, but I think that Sirianni's got good control in that locker room. The players respect him. And when AJ does step out of line, which he does, they reel it in pretty good and keep it within the locker room. So kudos to Sirianni for how he's handled his diva wide receiver.
You know, Niner fans have kind of crushed John Lynch for not trading for anybody significant at the deadline. And a lot of people point to this guy, Jalen Phillips, and say, hey, you could have jumped the Eagles for Phillips. You're worse than them. They took a third-round pick. Your third-round pick would have been higher than their third-round pick. Why didn't you offer a third-round pick for Jalen Phillips? And the Niners, I think Lynch and Shanahan didn't think they were that great, and maybe are a little bit surprised by the fact they finished 12-5. And I don't think they were banking they were going to be in this spot, and I think they probably should have pulled the trigger. How has Phillips looked? I know he's a little dinged up, but man, Phillips and Carter, you got two guys on that front four that really got to be doubled at times. How's Phillips looked?
He's looked fine. Outstanding acquisition by Howie Roseman, which my money, Howie's the best GM in the National Football League and has been for years running. He didn't get them all right. He made a couple of moves that didn't quite pan out. If you didn't watch the game, which if you were in Philadelphia and other than you knew the possibility you could be playing the Eagles, why you would watch the Commanders and Eagles in Week 18 would be up to you. The reserve cornerbacks that they had to put into the game, Jacorian Bennett and Keely Ringo. Now, when you've got two of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League playing for you week in and week out, you expect a certain level of ability. The drop-off was so stark. They made Josh Johnson look good. You guys in San Francisco, one of the 22 teams Josh played for. So you know Josh isn't a player, but he's hanging on, and God bless him for doing it. He looked good throwing the football because the Eagles' defense was so bad. All they did was tackle wide receivers before the ball ever got there through the air. And that was a draft pick that you did not have to give up for a Jacorian Bennett. He just can't play. So Howie doesn't get them all right, but he gets more right than not. And Jalen Phillips was a really good acquisition. And yes, the Eagles are happy he'll be on their side of the field on Sunday rather than the 49ers.
The play that I think you might be referring to, so Mitchell's awesome, right? Quinion Mitchell's one of the best corners in pro football. I don't know about Adoree Jackson, but he's the starter opposite. But you're mentioning the guys behind. Keely Ringo, there was a play where the quarterback was coming to the, kind of a bootleg action.
Yep.
And he's defending the running of the receiver 4 yards in the end zone, allowing the quarterback to run across the goal line for an uncontested touchdown. I mean, that was a brain fart of the highest degree. Keely Ringo, what was he thinking there?
He might have thrown the football, so his job was probably first thing to do coverage. But you've got to be able to sense the field around you and realize you are the only person who has a chance to tackle the quarterback between the 5 and the end zone, and he had no clue as to what was going down there. He's an athletic kid. He's a big kid. People like his size and his looks. He doesn't have the skills to play in the National Football League. And the Eagles wanted him to win that other cornerback position, and it just got so bad that they said, we can't do this. That's why they went out and got Jacorian Bennett. To Adoree Jackson's credit, and he was questioned as first in acquisition, and then he didn't get off to the fastest start. He's been pretty solid the last half of the season. He's picked it up some. I, at one point, would have called that a weakness for the Eagles positionally. I don't anymore. It's not Quinion Mitchell level coverage, but Adoree Jackson's been pretty good. The Eagles, when they put their starting defensive backfield out there this week, they will be much improved over what they threw at the Commanders last week.
Two last ones and we'll let you go. Nico Dean, man, I really like this player. I loved him at Georgia. Then he came into the NFL. It took him some time. It wasn't like an instant thing, but he is heady. He's smart. He's competitive. He's their middle linebacker, but he's also beat up physically. What What's his status for this game? Is he going to go?
He's going to go. And I think, again, if it was a needed to win to make the playoffs game last week, I think he would have gone there. He was out and about after he got hurt in the game. The next day, he was out doing charitable stuff for the holidays. So it wasn't like he was so bad off that they had to keep him chained to a comfy chair or a couch or whatever. So I certainly expect him to go, kind of like Lane Johnson. We'll know when we see it. Is he close enough to 100%? Nicobe got shafted, if anybody got shafted in his first year with the Eagles, and that was under Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan, good luck getting another job. He refused to put him on the field. The Eagles went to the Super Bowl that year. They had blowout games, and he could have gotten them some snaps, and he never did. So then he enters his second year, having basically never played from scrimmage and had to do all the catching up. All this kid needed was a chance and some time and some reps, and he's gotten it, and he's a borderline Pro Bowl level type player. Big question is, where's it going to be next season? Because it's fourth year of a non-first round draft pick contract.
Right.
So he will be a free agent. Howie's usually pretty good about identifying core players and getting extensions done before they get to free agency. They haven't done that with Nicobe this year. It surprised me. I've called for it. Shoot, before the season ever started, I put my money on Nico Dean, and he certainly has had another good year. So that could be because they have Campbell and Trotter in the wings. I think there's a good chance Nico Dean will be elsewhere next year, but expect him out there on the field Sunday against the Niners.
Yeah, those are tough decisions, who to offer a second contract to. Last one, let's talk about Brock Purdy versus Jalen Hurts. Is Purdy better than Hurts? And I'm looking at the numbers. Purdy's number 3 in EPA per play, number 1 in success rate. Hurts is 18th in EPA per play, 25th in success rate. Purdy finished the year 2nd in QBR behind Drake May, and Jalen Hurts was 20th. Purdy's 8th in passer rating. Hurts is 12th, so they're close there. I've compared these guys in the past. I think there's so many similarities between the two of them that it's unbelievable. I think they're very similar in a lot of ways. I think they lead in a similar way. I think they're both very devout into their faith and very serious, kind of grounded.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of Jalen Hurts? There has been criticism. There are people that say that he doesn't want to attack down the field in the middle of the field, that he doesn't take chances with the ball, that his low interception totals really are reflective of a negative and not a positive. I don't know. I've always liked him. He's got strong legs, and he's great on the tush push. He's a leader. What do you think? How would you compare Hurts and Purdy?
Like I said, the two quarterbacks with the best playoff win-loss record are facing off this week. Hurts against Purdy. The others aren't even close. Whole bunch of them have never played in a playoff game. Whole bunch of them have a losing record or a 500 record. The Josh Allens and the Aaron Rodgers are barely above 500. They're both elite quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback. Brock Purdy's an elite quarterback. Who had the better year this year? Tough to judge because of the missed time for Purdy at the beginning of the season. But from the time Purdy played to the entire year of Hurts, you compare the two, Purdy had a better year, plain and simple. Does that make him a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts? Well, now you got to take their entire career into consideration for that. Jalen Hurts almost won an MVP. Brock hasn't been that close yet. Very close, damn close to a toss-up as far as I'm concerned. And it's so funny in Philadelphia, and it's probably the same way you are out in San Francisco. People either think Jalen Hurts is the greatest quarterback of all time or give us Tanner McKee. People get to the opposite ends of opinions so drastically on quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh. Believe me when I tell you, both Purdy and Jalen Hurts are elite keepers.
Yeah, Jody, I took calls the other day. I got back-to-back calls. The first guy's like, hey, Purdy reminds me an awful lot of Joe. Oh, my God. And the second guy's like, they should sit Purdy and go with Mac Jones. He's got a better arm. It's like, okay, these are back-to-back callers. All right, on your way out the door, the Eagles are probably going to win this game. The Eagles are, Niners are limping defensively. Eagles are better on the offensive line. Eagles are better on the defensive line. I think they win out in the trenches. I give the Niners just a puncher's chance, maybe 5%, 10% chance of rolling in there. Maybe a little bit more because Purdy, I think, bounces back usually after a loss with a really strong performance, and he's due now. But if Philly's going to lose this game, why are they going to lose? How are they going to lose? If Philly loses, what's it going to look like?
It will be ineffective running the football. And that's hard to believe with Saquon Barkley as part of it. Saquon at times has flashed the brilliance that he had last year. And at other times, there just haven't been holes. The 49ers just basically have to contain Saquon Barkley. And then that gives them a chance. Now, Purdy's got to make big plays. Kittle's got to make plays. McCaffrey needs to be McCaffrey, which we all know he can be. Whoever walks out of the game with the better stat line at the star running back position, McCaffrey and or Saquon, is probably going to be the team that wins the game. And I do think it's a very good possibility it could be McCaffrey. If you ask me to make a pick, something along the lines of 23-20 Eagles. I think the Eagles defense is too good for the 49ers to put up a 30 spot, which Purdy does basically almost every week since midseason this year, except for last week against Seattle. Eagles defense will not allow him to put up 30, but the Eagle offense hasn't been consistent enough for me to say, well, the Eagles are going to put up 4 touchdowns plus. They should win this game easy. 23-20, which is right around the spread for the game, right around the total for the game. So I'm not helping any of your wagering listeners out there even a little bit, but that's how I see it. I think it's about 23-20 Philadelphia.
Baldy said that if CMC gets 30 touches, it's going to come down to the final possession. I would say they're going to need more than just that to make this game close, especially on the road against a really good defense like Philly's got. Jody, awesome stuff, man. You can hear Jody on IP. You can hear Jody on WFAN. You can check him out on iHeartRadio if you're out here on the West Coast. Jody, always a pleasure to rap with you. Thanks for coming on KMBR and giving us a little breakdown.
Okay, anytime, my friend, and enjoy your time here in Philly this weekend.
Is there a place I need to go? I'm bringing my kid. I've heard different cheesesteak places. People are telling me this place. I'm getting different advice. Jody, you're a native.
I am.
Where's the you're native? Well, I mean, you're there. I shouldn't say you're native. You're born in New York, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What's the best cheesesteak in Philly?
I'm a smart guy. I'm not going to give you one because if you do, then you're insulting all the others. And I like to sample my cheesesteaks all over Philadelphia. But they got a really good sports bar called Chickies and Pete's, which is walking distance to the link. It's right off Broad Street. So if you do the search thing on the phone and they send you to Chickies and Pete's, depending on what time you get there, it will be packed. It will be loud. And the crab fries are phenomenal. Enjoy.
Ooh, all right. Jody Mack stopping by on the Sports Leader. Thanks, Jody. We'll talk again soon.
You got it, Larry.
More straight ahead. It's 49er forecast on the Sports Leader.